Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Learning Curve with me, Kenny. And today I have once again a very special guest with me. It's Eckhart Jensen from HR Act in Singapore. And it will be a really exciting topic today. Our topic for today is the challenges of providing training in a manufacturing industry. And Eckhart here is the expert on that. So, purpose of the podcast is, in essence, to give you a little bit more edification, to let you learn a little bit more about the challenges that we face in the learning industry. And Eckhart, tell us a little about yourself, what you do at your role at HR Act, and a little bit of background.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kenny, and greetings to everybody from Singapore. So, how was my journey? Born in Germany, I studied in Germany, Switzerland. Then I worked for a chemistry company, became the youngest head of learning and development in the German chemistry industry at the age of 29.
Wow, the
Yeah,
youngest. Okay, so you had
yeah,
a you had a stellar career there. Okay.
right. So after I've done this for a few years, I got a call from Daimler-Benz at this point,
Hmm.
to help implementing the new strategy of the group, and I joined Daimler as head of training and development for their corporate headquarter functions. At that point of time, quite big. So I was
Okay.
with the company for 24 years, and just a few spotlights on that one. So I was the founder of Daimler-Chrysler Management Consulting. Uh, was part of the merger team for the Daimler-Chrysler merger, the marriage in heaven, and after this, the
Oh my. Oh
divorce.
my. Incredible. Okay, interesting that you mentioned that because there were such already we're going off on a tangent because at that time I was working for the Daimler Mercedes-Benz Bank, and
All
there
right.
when the rollout came for the merger between Daimler and Chrysler, there were such high hopes because I think I remember they had a promotional video in which they hired who was it the guy that did the Godzilla movie, the German producer. I forget his name. He did that. Anyways, he's very famous because he likes blowing things up. German producer, big guy in
Okay.
Hollywood. But anyways, the funny thing was that this video was done by him, and it showed what they were pitching to us as the employees was basically that Daimler Chrysler was now offering the full spectrum of automotive capability from
Great.
trucks. They even had what was it, Freightliner, I believe, was part
Yes,
of the
that's still
package.
there, right? Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was like
Thomas built buses and all those
yes,
stuff, right?
exactly. So you were part of that.
Yeah, I was part of that, bringing the whole stuff together, and
Hmm.
I was part of this, cutting this into pieces again so that it be live on its own. So the financial
Okay.
services area was actually the most tricky one to get this separated, because the systems are fully integrated in the financial services
Okay. Okay.
industry. For
Okay.
Freightliner, for heavy duty trucks, no problem. You can run this as a separate
Hmm.
business, right?
Okay.
So
One quick, I'm gonna have to
yeah,
delve one more question then, because this is
yeah.
something that. What would you say in the end was it a since you're also an HR expert,
Yeah.
was it a failure in culture to get those two to work together, or what would you say, in your opinion, in retrospect, what was the biggest challenge on that?
The biggest
Uh,
challenge is, on one hand, the German engineering mindset,
hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Combined, though, and here, the engineering mindset is the best or nothing,
Okay.
okay?
Okay. Hmm.
Compared with what sells best.
Ah, okay,
And
okay,
it
okay,
never fit, it never properly fitted together.
okay,
So
okay.
just um, Mercedes or Daimler at that point of
Mm-hmm.
time, the German, the global player.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's no bonus, no discounts, nothing.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, they would
Mm-hmm.
never run a factory and pump uh, the cars or the trucks to the dealers and say sell. They would
Okay.
say every product has a customer. The customer
Mm-hmm.
can be the showroom, but the
Mm-hmm.
product is being produced for the special needs of the customer.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that one did not fit. That one did not fit together. If I
Fantastic.
look from a learning perspective, who learned more in this journey? The
Mm-hmm.
Germans.
The Germans. Okay. Interesting.
Modern um, management philosophies like um, balanced scorecard,
Mm-hmm.
OKRs, and all those
Mm-hmm.
have been adapted from the US. The
Okay.
HR management system at that point, PeopleSoft, had been adapted from the US. So
Mm-hmm.
the HR area had a steep, very, very, very steep learning curve.
Okay. Well, irony of the whole situation is I started with the Daimler Bank, and now I work for a company that actually offers the learning management system for Daimler.
Yep.
So, okay. So this
So,
was not
but
planned. This is
yeah,
not planned. This is completely a random discussion that came up. So, Eckhart, let's get back to
yeah. But let
your
me
listeners.
highlight
Okay.
one point here. Um, and for 4 years, I worked in the heavy duty truck Europe
Hmm.
as the transformation manager.
Okay.
Meaning bringing this organization from the lower ranks in the company rating to the upper
Hmm.
ranks,
Okay.
while working on the strategy, the processes, and human resources. And when we started our transformation process, which is called was called Open House, we were at position 13 out of 16.
Hmm.
At the end, we were at position 4.
Wow. Congratulations. Okay.
Yes,
That's
that
incredible.
that was a huge success. So after I've done this, what would be the next challenge? Yes, I went into Asia,
Hmm.
took over the responsibility for 13 countries
Hmm.
out of Singapore, managing the whole HR. I was asked
Okay.
after 5 years to take over Russia. I said no, thank you, and founded my own business here in Singapore, um, HR Act,
Hmm.
which is specialized in, on one hand, helping companies to implement sustainable human resources based on global HR standards.
Hmm.
On the other hand, I'm doing training for Industry 4.0, implementation training for Industry 4.0.
Okay, fantastic. So that wraps up the story. We kind of this is kind of like a crazy rally race. We kind of
Right,
left the track for a second, but we're now back on track and
right.
we're back on the subject. So um, let me ask you, since I can tell that you're very enthusiastic about the topic. So
Yeah.
what gets you really excited when you go to work, and what could you go a little bit more in detail? You did already um, briefly mention what you did for what you do for HR Act, but could you tell me what drives you and your roles at HR Act again, please?
The main drive, what keeps me out of bed in the morning, right? is,
It's not your wife, right?
no, not at all. No, is helping people and organizations to change to the better.
Hmm.
That's my main driver. So
Okay.
getting into the factory, talking to the worker in the factory,
Hmm.
getting their knowledge to adapt it, to move the whole organization to a new level. That's it. And the
Okay.
beauty in this one with the projects, I'm learning every day totally new stuff I've never learned before. So
Okay.
we for example, um, we had one company to digitize a dredger, which is actually, yes, which is
Okay.
actually it's like a huge ship that operates like a vacuum cleaner
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and takes out the sand from the ocean
Mm-hmm.
and spits it or uploads it at another area.
Oh, basically what Saudi Arabia used to create all their islands, right?
Right. So
The
that's been used
palm and
to
everything.
create the islands. So the dredger
Mm-hmm.
is now fully digitized. We know the quality of the sand, the amount of the sand. We know the capacity of the ship. And this is the role model for 21 ships worldwide. And this is exciting for me to
Okay.
see how technology, yeah, we have the data on a ship, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end, you have a dashboard in Belgium, in Antwerp,
Okay.
where they see all the 21 ships operating.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Fantastic.
That's the exciting part to me. Is that wow, 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 wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Or the exciting part is implementing new technology and talking to the worker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after a certain point, the workers are honest and say, "Eckhart, I don't need this whole features. I need a red
Okay.
button that I can press, stop, and start, and that's it." Right? So, or
Okay.
looking at me as an Eckhart, actually, I'm from China. I need the dashboard in Chinese and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
If I could have this, I could work better. I said, okay, let's see how you get this in Chinese, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little things. Yeah.
Those are the cases where I say, wow,
Mm-hmm.
wow, 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 that makes sense
Mm-hmm.
for me. And it's across a lot of industries. It's not only manufacturing, it's in hospitals, it's in schools. There's
Mm-hmm.
no area, including HR, where you
Mm-hmm.
can implement Industry 4.0 philosophy.
Okay, then let's dive. I wasn't going to get touch on that yet, but maybe give us a little bit insight of what Industry 4.0 means and the philosophy behind it. Let's go there for a second.
Okay, from our perspective, Industry 4.0, being invented in Germany at the Hanover Fair in 2012, is
Hmm.
the concept of automating manufacturing in a manufacturing environment or an industry environment while
Hmm.
using the latest automation technology. That's our
Okay.
understanding of Industry 4.0.
Okay. Okay.
And we are
And
now
that.
moving to 5.0, which includes the whole sustainability aspects.
Okay. Okay. And your challenge then, basically, in the learning development part of it, is to basically facilitate that and to train that. So
Yes.
that's fantastic. So um, it, let's take a look at um, what gave you, or let's start with this. So we talked about Industry 4.0. Then
Yeah.
give us a little snapshot of what the manufacturing industry in Singapore is like right now,
Okay.
since that's
So
where you
look,
are.
we have on one hand um, companies at the level of Industry 4.0/5.0, right?
Hmm.
So for let's take the Hyundai factory here in Singapore. It's a combination of an innovation lab and a small factory with a
Hmm.
very, very small capacity of 9,000 cars a year, not a
Hmm.
day, a year.
Okay, but it's an innovation lab, so I guess they're
Yes,
testing
it's
out
an
new
innovation lab
technologies.
with
Hmm.
with
Small production
a
capabilities.
small production. So
Hmm.
that's one angle, right? And you have this kind of in all industries,
Hmm.
whether it's logistics, whether it's hospitality, whether it's hospitals, and then you have those high end ones,
Hmm.
yeah? Mainly multinational companies.
Hmm.
Now the local companies we talk in, and we are honest here, it's Industry 2.0. It's, or if we are happy, it's 2.50.
Okay,
I
now the quick question: the numbering standards, were those actually in place before Industry 4.0 was invented, or are these actual numbering standards which were
the
applied earlier?
numbering standards are have been there before 4.0 came. So
Okay, okay, okay.
it starts with high manual. The first automation was actually um, a slaughter factory in Detroit, where you
Mm-hmm.
had the first time the where the killed animals were being moved. That's
Mm-hmm.
the ones. So
Mm-hmm.
then we talk about implementation of first robots. That's 3.0.
Mm-hmm.
Automation 4.0.
Okay.
Full digitalization and inclusion of sustainability 5.0.
Okay. So you're kind of so your challenge is it always that you have, of course, you're with the training that you're providing, of course, training to get companies from a lower level to 4.0, or
No, no,
now,
Kenneth,
yeah,
Kenneth, I have a mix. I
okay,
have um, uh, participants from 2.0 or
hmm
2.5, yeah,
hmm
2.5, and I have companies with 5.0 in the room.
wow, okay, is that a particular challenge to get those two? Because I mean, you're basically uh, just by virtue of the
Yeah,
numbers and not knowing anything, and I guess the numbers actually also replace their level of automation and so forth.
right.
Is that hard then to bridge that? Because it sounds like you're doing you're trying to teach a bachelor's course at the same time you're trying to teach a doctorate program. Just as a
Yeah, no, but
simple example.
the beauty of this one is a lot of the participants are bringing along the videos of their companies,
Hmm
and they show this to the participants,
hmm
and then they are learning together.
Okay, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So, explain to me how such a let's dive into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
What does a training for you look like? Well,
So,
what is a classical
for
training?
example, I'm running a certification course together with
Hmm
the AHK, which is the foreign organization of the German industry and commerce organization,
hmm
right?
hmm Okay.
So it's a 10-day course.
hmm
In this 10-day course, they are learning on one hand what is Industry 4.0.
hmm
Then they learn what's the latest technology, and they do this in a lab environment. So they are
Wow.
programming their own machines and testing whether this is rolling and the robot is working like this and stuff like this,
Okay. Okay.
right? So
So
that's yeah, that's
extremely
one.
hands-on.
The extremely hands-on, extremely hands-on.
Okay.
Then they learn a lot about um, logistics.
hmm
And the last one is a 3-day session in regards to the human resources aspects of Industry 4.0. So, with
Okay.
this knowledge, 4 modules, they
hmm
have a break of 2 to 3 months,
hmm
work on their own projects, and
hmm
come back to the exam to
hmm
present the project results to a panel and get certified.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's always basically the certification is through a project that they basically have to present. Then,
It's
okay,
through project combined with a knowledge testing. So it's an
okay,
interview, so that they have to refer to the module 1 to 4, but
hmm
on the other hand, they also have to present a very convincing project, which
okay,
includes the business case, which includes the project rollout, which includes the use of the knowledge from all four modules.
okay. So let's dive one step deeper into
Yeah,
this because this is where the learning and development comes in.
yeah.
What was it? Did you actually create that content and the format in which it's
No,
presented,
as it is a
or did you help
global,
structure?
it's a global certification program.
Okay.
So the 4 modules are given.
hmm hmm
What we did, we adapted the 4 modules to the requirements in Singapore.
Ah, okay, cool, fantastic.
Yeah. So
That's what.
I had to revamp.
Mhm.
Honestly, I had to revamp the whole module about human resources because you have a different culture here.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So that was you would say that that was one of the hardest challenges. But you've now talking about since in retrospect, we talked about your journey at Daimler and so forth. So, so you were really well prepared for that then, in
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
retrospect.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and
So why was I so very well prepared for this? My last assignment with Daimler
mhm.
was implementing standards in human resources,
Mhm.
including the factory environment,
Oh, fantastic.
and I did this in 12 countries.
Okay, okay. So that was
Was a
okay.
tough one.
Okay, so let's move over to we talked about we dove into Industry 4.0, and we talked about how you structure everything and how it's actually taught, which I think is fantastic and
Yeah.
fascinating. So, um, what are some of the big trends and changes you see in the industry? That would be
Yeah, Kenny, I would like to highlight one or a few important points. So,
sure.
as part of the training, we always highlight to the participants
Hmm.
the following rule that says 70, 20, 10.
Okay.
70% of the learning takes place at the workplace.
Hmm.
20% of the learning takes place in own directed learning or in seminars, workshops, and stuff like this, right? And
Okay.
10% takes place in mentoring and coaching. So the leadership role in implementing the whole stuff is
Mhm.
extremely vital to get the organization to a new level.
Okay. It's fantastic. I enjoy this because every time I talk to, diverse experts or various experts, um, it's always interesting how they adapt learning and how they make learning happen in a certain stage in a certain area. And you're one of the first people that's talked about the 70-20-10 breakdown, and it highlights the in course, then the self learning, and then of course the management. And that's something that in my talks hasn't been addressed in that detail. So I find that
Okay.
fascinating. So I'll take
Yeah.
that with me, and hopefully some of our learners can take that with them, and maybe
Yeah.
that's something that you can apply to a
Yeah.
different
So
segment.
for yes, for the 10%, right? So for
Hmm.
the 10%, and that's the important one. For the 10%, I always tell the management, now we need to do the following. You need to get into your overall.
Hmm.
You need to put on the gloves, and you need to work in the factory for minimum 10 days a year.
Oh, okay. They need to be hands-on and into the business.
Because
Okay.
otherwise you can't do coaching because you haven't understood the daily life of your worker.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting.
And we had sessions where the CEO after the second day said, okay, my management team needs to come in here, we do a board meeting here, I don't
Hmm.
do this anymore, and we should not do this what we do here.
Okay.
We need
Okay.
to fix this immediately. Yeah. And
Hmm.
feedback to the um, development team saying, why did you design this so complex? It's
Hmm.
you can't hardly produce it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So
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 that's
those
that's
man.
that's the important one, to
Hmm.
bring it in, and then for the management to accept that 70% learning on
Hmm.
the job could mean that you're sitting on the bench steering to the ceiling
Hmm.
because you're
Okay.
learning.
Yep, yep, yep. Well, I mean that's I had a talk with somebody that also, Gunnar, and
Yeah.
he's an expert on change management. So he
Right.
also addressed the importance basically of management being on board, and of course making the room and the possibility to learn. So that's something
Right.
that you have to create a viable atmosphere, and that's I
Right.
guess part of
And
that. And
look, Kenneth, just as an example, the participants of our 10 days, yeah, they
hmm.
are allowed to bring in their colleagues, they are allowed to bring in their management, even after the certification, to
Hmm.
test certain stuff. And Bosch
Wow.
Rexroth, who owns the lab, says,
Mhm.
as this is an open platform, if you are using other technologies, bring it in.
Okay.
And
Wow.
we test how this, because for Boss Retro is also good to learn this, how this their open platform is
Mhm.
interacting with other systems.
Wow. Okay. That highly innovative. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's
very
yes, yes.
very open. Okay. So, but that still brings us to you still have to answer the question, which was the big trends and changes that you see happening in the industry. That would be that was the question that we initially started off
Okay,
on. I don't
okay.
think
So
that was answered yet.
what are the big changes I see? There are actually quite a lot of changes are coming. Um, the first and most pressuring one is new technologies.
Hmm.
Gen AI, machine learning is accelerating at a speed that is breathtaking,
Yep.
and the companies have to pick up with this one.
Hmm.
That's point number one. Point number two is we will have a lot of changes in the manufacturing area. Just take the new manufacturing strategies go more into the direction we manufacture at the place where we sell the product,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
Hugo Boss, the company from Metzingen, the clothing company or the fashion
Yep.
company, yeah, just
Hmm.
moved their European, their let's say the European part of their production in Asia back to Europe. So they are
Really?
manufacturing now in Europe.
Okay. What is that part of? uh, What was the impetus for that? Is there?
The impetus for that is on one hand, it contributes to the carbon footprint.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you're reducing the carbon footprint. That is
Hmm.
one. The second one, you're getting a more stable organization,
Hmm.
and you can react faster to market shifts because they realize that the Asian fashion has a certain cutting, the Asian fashion
Hmm.
has a certain colors. Not everybody can being sold in the same way in Europe. So you have respective lines. Why don't
Hmm.
you just do it in Europe? And with automation, the cost advantage is almost this. There's hardly a cost advantage producing in Asia now.
Okay. But automation then has the from the sound of it, I mean, one of the reasons when we're talking about the textile industry,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it was still manual labor. I would probably say,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that was probably the reason that it was mostly based in Asia because the costs were simply less. And now,
Yes.
if you're heading to automation, then of course um, it does make sense under the view of sustainability, carbon footprint, and
Right.
so forth than to have that
Yeah,
ability to
and we have to
do it on
take
site.
one point into consideration though. Moving forward, and certain fashion chains already started with this one is you can
Hmm.
return your old stuff, right? To the
Yeah.
fashion.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's getting into a circular economy, and that one you
Okay.
manage best uh, at the location. It doesn't make sense to ship stuff from Europe to Asia for recycling.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay.
Right?
Eckert, I realize that talking with you is just I'm opening one box of Pandora after another one. So I think if we had time, I would probably talk to you for another couple hours
Yeah.
because I think you have an extreme wealth of knowledge. And the other thing I realized when I was so focused, not being an expert on the topic, but I was so focused on one perspective that you've now opened up the gambit. I mean, we've touched on the automobile industry, we touched on the chemical industry, we touched on textiles. So I mean, um, it, my vision of manufacturing was way too I don't focus on I don't know what, but
Yeah.
you just
And look,
opened up a
yeah.
whole industry. I mean,
Yes.
a whole perspective there.
Kenneth,
Fantastic. Hmm.
if you would visit me here in Singapore and we would go to selected restaurants, we will be
Hmm.
greeted by
Hmm.
a robot who will bring us to the table, and we will be served by a robot. The only being left
Okay.
over is the cleaning of the
Wow.
table. And the main
Do,
reason is the The robot needs more space to clean the table, though. Therefore, the restaurant is not big enough to do this. Otherwise, it would be also a robot coming along and cleaning the table.
Okay. Well, let me touch on that real quick. I mean, we're getting off topic again, but I will have to ask that question.
Yeah.
How do you see that? Um, I mean, when we're talking about, I think one of the specters or one of the fears that have always been out there, with the advancement of technology and industry and so forth and so on is always, um, there's always the fear of a loss of jobs. So back in the day when industry moved to robots, there was the
Mm,
discussion, that everybody's job is going to be replaced by a robot doing the same thing. Now we have that a similar discussion being kicked off with AI.
mm.
So how do you view that? Do you view it? A lot of the people I've talked to that actually um, are supporters of AI and so forth say that with every step in development of the industry, it frees individuals to do other activities. So to follow something that I think machines at this point cannot really be, and that is creative. Um, so where do you stand on that? I mean,
Yeah.
having watched industry, I mean, you've been in the industry for 20 years. You've seen how industry develops. You've done change management, so you've also been
Yeah.
in, and you've implemented a lot of things. So with those implementations, there had to be a situation where jobs were lost or had to be recreated because of the advancements you're making. So where do you stand on that overall?
Yeah. So,
But
and
this got
and
really
here,
off topic. I'm
no, no,
sorry.
no, 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 but that's an important one, and I can not
Hmm.
highlight this enough. And it's coming back to the question of the mindset. If you
Hmm.
have a fixed mindset, you
Hmm.
will probably lose your job, because um, um, manufacturing as it was done 20 years ago will not be done like this moving forward. Yeah.
Hmm.
So but if you get open, there is so much opportunity, it's unbelievable.
Okay.
So what
So.
do you do? Yeah. Then let's take an example, though, that guys who lost their job in the manufacturing environment
Hmm.
came up with the idea, how can we set up a tracking system for wheelchairs in hospitals?
Okay.
And they are now working in the in hospitals to set up the tracking system. Because what turned out is that nurses in hospitals spend up to uh, 20 minutes a day just
Hmm.
looking for the wheelchair.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay, but that might have been overtaken by Apple's AirTag. So you just slap an AirTag now on the wheelchair, and that takes care of that. But okay,
You know,
but
Kenny, and that's exactly
but.
the point. We thought that is that easy, but
Hmm.
in the MRI area, in the X-ray area, in next to the hospital, to the search, to the operation,
Hmm.
operation theaters,
Hmm.
you are not allowed to use the AirTag.
I was afraid you're going to say that. There goes my great idea. Okay, now I see why I'm not that. But okay, so overall,
Yeah.
though what we can say is that um, is and this also I think perfectly also describes something that we're always pushing for in the learning development area is lifelong learning.
Yes.
And I think that fits perfectly with what you mentioned is a flexible mindset.
Yeah.
So I think those two things match. They're probably the same thing expressed in different ways.
Right.
That one of the challenges that you'll have to accept in this new world is lifelong learning. That you will have to continue to evolve along with the technology and um, I think there's always a saying. Um, in German, it's "Wer still steht, der rostet" oder was, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Whoever stands still rusts. So
Right.
I think that would be a perfect analogy.
Right.
Okay, so let's go through a couple more details on the specific, the biggest challenges when it comes to training and manufacturing. what would you say are the biggest challenges of
The,
manufacturing when it
the,
comes to training?
the biggest challenge is to convince the management to change the mindset to try something new. It's not my
In
experience.
change the mindset of the employees or of
No,
the
no. It's
management
not the
itself?
worker. It's the management.
Ah, okay, okay,
It's
okay.
changing the mindset of the management, to try something new and embark on a journey that, yes, has risks,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
right? So that's so the kicking this all off. It's not the worker.
Mm-hmm.
In most of the cases, when I talk to workers, they have tremendous ideas for improvement,
Mm-hmm.
but they are not being asked. And especially in Asia, if you're not being asked, you're not answering. You're
Yeah.
not
Okay. You're not
addressing it to
providing
the.
information. Okay.
Yeah, you're providing
Mm-hmm.
information. You're not addressing your boss this to the boss and saying, um, can I change this? And the boss would immediately say, is it broken?
Okay. Now, but when you say changing the mindset of management, um, is are you saying does the input have to come from outside, or in your experience, is the does management have a certain amount of self-realization where they say, okay, something's not working here, we need to change something, but how I mean,
Yeah,
is that how the process goes,
yeah,
or?
it is coming from two areas. It's coming from
Hmm.
the outside. It needs to
Hmm.
come from the outside, but on the other hand, you need also look at the data being provided from the outside, and honestly look into the situation, look into the mirror, and say what is required. So
Okay.
how is this be done? In Singapore, together with the World Economic Forum, they
Hmm.
developed the readiness, smart industry readiness index, SIRI,
Okay.
SIRI.
I
That's
heard
an
that somewhere
assessment,
else, but that's something else, I think.
right? Yeah, that's the Apple one, correct? Yeah. So this is an assessment that covers 16 areas, and it also
Hmm.
covers the whole human resources aspect in regards to
Hmm.
learning and development and leadership capabilities.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and very often the leadership capabilities are a more limiting factor than the learning and development.
You know what? I would tend to agree, because I sometimes fail. Uh, I am sometimes shocked, um, how uh, I think it's positive when individuals get promoted from within the company, but sometimes they get promoted from within the company, and then you come up to the top, and then the leadership aspect seems to be neglected in favor of the experience of the um, on the topic. So in manufacturing, well, he started in the at the bottom of the ranks and worked his way
Right.
up, so he knows how everything's done. But I think in which is good, because once again you reflected that when you said that one of your requirements is to have management go back and go look at the processes. But what oftentimes I find is lost is the actual leadership aspect, that people get up into the leadership positions, but then they don't know how to lead. They know how to do the product and everything, but they don't know how to lead.
Yes.
Is that something that you've also encountered?
Yeah, and especially here in Asia, as we
Hmm.
have a very strict hierarchical system, right?
Mm. Hmm.
Um, they are getting up the ladder, and they are making decisions based on their knowledge
Hmm.
and not based on what do I don't know and who knows it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And that would be required for Industry 4.0, not to ask what I know.
Hmm.
Technology is available and everything can be implemented. No, the question is here, what do I do I not know?
Okay. Okay. That's actually the perfect segue to my next question. That would have been, what skills are most manufacturing workers missing? Now, um, the question originated in management, so we can include management in the question. So, what skills are manufacturing workers and management most likely missing? You can answer those
Yeah,
in two separate segments.
one skill that gets lost over the development journey is
Hmm.
to play like a child, to be experimental, to be innovative, to
Okay.
try certain stuff, to um, s- look whether stuff is working in a different way, to be open and
Hmm.
try new mental models. That
Hmm.
is something that um, is a limiting factor.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. For both employees and management, you would say
Yes,
that applies to both. Okay.
yes, that applies to
Um,
both.
okay.
So
Um,
therefore, it is recommended actually that the factories are open up for kids and schools, so that children with their creative part can look at something on it from a totally different way.
wow. Okay. Now that's being very adventurous and different, but I
Yes,
can see that in certain applications being I guess that falls under the idea of out of the box thinking.
right. And
how can we make
it
changes and
contributes to opening up a fully new sourcing channel, because you need production in the first place is not sexy, right? So how do I make this sexy? How do I make it this attractive for boys and girls,
hmm.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though, and they need to see it, they need to feel it, they need to touch it. So if the
Okay.
company says that's too dangerous, no problem, set up a lab, let them play
Okay. Okay. Okay.
and
So that
document this, because they might have totally new ideas which you can easily bring into your production right away.
okay, so that among those now, we've talked about how you deliver training and so forth and so on,
Yeah.
and some of the best practices. Um, what would you say are some of the? Let me see how to put this the best. Um, what would you say aside from the idea of the children.
Mm.
What new training methods and tools do you think are you working on or have you implemented lately that you think are great?
Okay. One, it's not a training method, but it bringing the management to the shop floor is a crucial
Hmm.
one.
Okay.
Uh, Using Scrum in a manufacturing environment, or with implementing Scrum sessions at the factory.
Oh, that's gonna. Okay, that's. I wasn't expecting that one. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
Um, it driving totally new ways of taking care of employees, getting more flexibility in this was in regards to learning and if possible also in regards to manufacturing. So look, the traditional model of we have a shift and we produce. Yes, for those who have 24 hours continuous shift, it is like this, right? But
Hmm.
for the others, it's getting more and more into the direction we produce when we have the stuff that we can produce.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
yeah.
Oh boy.
Look,
Okay, that's going to go off the deep end because I am I that I think is going that's a really good one because I am really curious to see how that works because I mean my limited okay classic for me manufacturing is basically you're on a, my classic vision maybe is
yeah,
assembly line okay
yeah,
let's just put that out there
right,
so I'm old school ancient whatever assembly line so that's how I vision manufacturing one process after next
right.
so I find it highly fascinating how you are going to how you're going to get away in certain industries you said away from the shift model and
Okay. So,
more flexibility this is going to
okay.
take
Oh
probably
no, no, but no. Um, uh, Mercedes-Benz Plant 56.
Hmm.
There's no line anymore.
Okay.
The individual car is on a robot, and the
Okay.
robot moves, and the robot knows, okay, Eckhart's part and Eckhart's tools have arrived, so Eckhart can fix certain stuff in the car. So I'm
Hmm.
approaching Eckhart in the right way, and I'm changing the position of the car because Eckhart is a left-hander, for example.
Hmm.
He's
Hmm.
working differently. The tool
Hmm.
I have to screw certain stuff is fully digitized and will be shown on the dashboard whether I have done this properly or not.
Mind blowing.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So that's what I envision in regards to future of manufacturing. Why do I say I manufacture when I have the stuff? Can it due to the political turbulences in the Middle East, in Europe, supply
Hmm.
chains actually broke down.
Okay.
Yeah. So you
So.
are now from Asia, you are now shipping around Africa. You're
Hmm.
not shortcutting it anymore.
Hmm.
It
Okay.
takes longer,
Well,
sometimes
when the
up to
Panama
three
Canal broke
months.
down, that was the same thing. That was
Right. Correct.
catastrophe.
Yes.
Okay.
See. So, and you have more and more of those incidents that certain stuff is simply not available. So
Okay.
you manufacture when it's there.
Okay.
That's what I mean with flexibility,
Wild.
and also with flexibility with flexible shifts.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. So can you recap that one more time for me? What were for you the three aspects? So we had management, but I'm not sure what aspect, and then the Scrum
Yeah.
and
So you asked me about the three areas. Yeah? The one is the
mm-hmm,
management, bringing the management down and
mm-hmm,
work as a factory worker or
mm-hmm,
as yeah, working in production,
mm-hmm.
whether it's a construction area or a restaurant or whatever, working in production, right?
Okay.
The second one is using Scrum as the
Mm-hmm.
method to improve certain areas.
Okay.
Having a Scrum session, having the backlogs and work on the backlogs in a Scrum model, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is maximum flexibility wherever this is possible.
Okay. I would have to. Okay, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
go back to the
and
drawing board, Eckhart.
there's actually a fourth one. Look at the skill sets of the employees
Mm-hmm.
and see what kind of activities are the core activities the employees can facilitate, and which are the ones that can be done better by someone else. Let me take one example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in hospitals, every nurse is in a regular hospital, every nurse is being trained to take blood,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
Um, some
We'll
like
set
it.
that as a given. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's part of the education,
Okay.
right? You need to be ready to do so. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Mm-hmm.
you can also think about this in a different way. You have, don't get me wrong, a blood vampire team, a bloodsucker team.
Okay.
They are doing this all over in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and that one is being done shipped into a lab and analyzed.
Mm-hmm.
That shortens the process of analyzing the blood data to I've seen this that the blood data is being analyzed in 2 hours
Okay.
and then being shipped into the clinic as a report. The company doing the blood analysis
Mm-hmm.
has organized all processes like a factory.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah, so they have
Interesting.
front end workers
Mm-hmm.
sourcing the stuff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
being shipped into a factory for analysis, and then the report is being shipped back to the hospital.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And by the way, in Germany, 20% of the blood analysis are being done by an Australian company.
Eckert, where do you come with all this information? You're just, I mean, it's It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, I could, in essence, there's so many topics that veer off from this, but in essence, I think we've covered a lot of ground. I think we positively covered interesting challenge that I mean, we've had insights now in the manufacturing industry that I personally haven't had. So I hope some of our listeners will now be a little bit. More educated on what happens in the manufacturing industry, and also how learning and development is a very important part of this. Um, so let's recap real quickly. So if you had um, final thoughts on the topic, what would you if at the end of the episode you wanted somebody to come out with one clear vision point or whatever, something that you would say that they should is a key to remember, what would it be?
Okay, I have two. One
Two.
is this. One is I have two.
Okay, wait a minute, wait
One,
a minute. If it's two, then let's make it three, because I like to do things in threes. Can you do three?
I can do three.
Okay.
Point number one, take away. Think about how you organize 70-20-10, and
Mm-hmm.
organize this specific to the requirements of your organization.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Number two is forget about everything what you learned about culture and age and all those stuff. You have contributor and you have non-contributor, and they can come from the organization and outside the organization. Always recall the oldest woman who has finished the Ironman. She is 92. So everyone is capable of tremendous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Point number three is don't don't be stuck with what you know. Write down what do I don't know, and be
Okay.
very creative.
Okay.
The sky is the limit.
Eckhart. Okay, Eckhart, I absolutely love it. I think that's a fantastic ending for our show. Those 3 points. If anybody listened to the beginning of the show, it was fantastic. But these 3 points of knowledge, I think, are something that you can really. It's a great takeaway from the whole thing. And we might have gotten off topic a little bit on the things, but I think overall, for anybody that's in the learning and development industry, I think it was a very positive thing. And I do like your last 3 points, the 70-20-10. So learning, uh, so, being in a learning environment, having self-learning, and having management support that is my wrap
Yeah.
up of that. And I really, the breakdown that I think, that one was a really good one, because that one I wasn't expecting this one. This one I thought was really good, and I really like it. It's the idea of the contributor and non-contributor. That's that just I think that is something that you can really blow up HR topics with, or HR mindset with,
Right.
because just in a retrospect, I had one we're doing for a auditing company. We did a just to blow that mindset up. Quick anecdote from me.
Mhm.
We created content for a accounting firm, and they had we're doing basically we're creating individuals roles for people in the group in the company. So
Mm.
you had a junior accountant, or junior advisor, senior advisor, and then whatever the third level was. And the interesting thing was, when they were defining what these individuals looked like, they were giving them an male, female, between the age of so and so, and
Mm.
uh, and they had one role they had identified. They had the junior consultant, and somebody said, it should be between the age of, let's say, I'll just make up a fictitious number, but 35 and 40, right? And somebody said, wait a minute, if the guy is 40 years old and he's still a junior consultant, he's doing something wrong. So I was like, oh, okay. So, but it tells you, and that's where I think your contributor, non-contributor would blow that thing out of the water.
Yeah.
Given, okay, if the aspect was, if after being 10 years in the company he's still a junior, then okay, then I would, you could definitely classify him as a non-contributor. But alone the image of it, what happens if somebody comes in from another position at 35,
Correct.
um,
You
is
you
that
you
he doesn't,
start at a certain level, though.
yeah, he doesn't fit the roster. So
Right.
Eckhart, again, thank you very, very much for this
Thank
super
you,
entertaining and
Kenneth.
super interesting conversation we had. Thank you for taking the time. And
Thank
anybody
you.
who wants to contact Eckhart, we can put some links in there. And Eckhart, if somebody wants to dive more into the topic, um, do you have any recommendation on where they can find more information, or maybe a, this is what I didn't put this in my briefing to you before,
Mm.
but if there was a book or an article that someone could read, do you have a book or an article that you would recommend?
Um,
That's
a
putting you on the
book.
spot.
Yeah, no,
Did
no.
I, did I get you with a
A
question
book.
that you
A
aren't
book. A
prepared
book. A
for?
book. A book is Ross Womack, the
Mm-hmm.
machine that changed the world, the Toyota story. There you learn
Okay.
a lot of industry automation.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. Um, an article.
You already,
Yeah,
Eckhart, that's fine. That's fine.
yeah.
I mean, there,
But
that
can
was a
you?
question out of left field, and you just come prepared for everything. I haven't been able to hit you with anything that you haven't been able to
Yeah.
answer. So,
What I recommend to all L&D um, experts is to take a deeper look into neuroscience.
hmm,
How
okay,
is the brain working? Why are people stuck in certain stuff? Why do people have a growth mindset? And how can I change it?
okay, and we'll be talking about that in our next podcast with Eckhart in
Correct.
about. Eckhart, it was fantastic. It was lovely. So that's it for the learning curve with me, Kenny. And if you like the podcast, then simply hit the like button, and even better, subscribe if you want to hear the next episodes. Eckhart, thank you very much again. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye. See you.